Jack, a cunning thief, presents a grand heist plan to his friends in a small apartment in a poor neighborhood. He explains how they can rob New York's largest bank. The scene shifts to the New York Central Bank's control room, showcasing complex security systems and protocols. Next, Jack and his team are seen purchasing advanced equipment at an electronics store to bypass these security measures. In a quiet cafe, Jack meets with a tech expert to discuss the intricate details of the infiltration process. Jack then observes bank activities from the outside to determine peak times and quiet periods. Back at Jack's apartment, the team undergoes rigorous simulation training for the heist. Meanwhile, in the bank's monitoring room, a security officer notices a system glitch, but it turns out to be a false alarm. At a fancy restaurant, Jack meets an important contact to gather critical information about the bank's security plans. In a public park, Jack and his team review the heist plan and make final notes. Late at night, Jack and his team begin the operation, stealthily infiltrating the building with advanced techniques. In the main security room, they face their first technical hurdle and use their expertise to overcome it. Jack uses social engineering tactics to bypass security in the manager's office and steals essential keys. In the vault room, the team navigates an advanced security system to unlock the vaults. They also steal sensitive information from the data room, which could escalate the risks. In the basement, the team encounters an emergency that requires a quick solution. Finally, in the monitoring room, the team cleverly handles a threat from the guards. The bar was dimly lit, casting long shadows as Jack confronted his old friend Mark, who had betrayed them. Jack's voice trembled with anger, and the tension was palpable. Mark tried to defend his actions, but Jack wasn't having any of it. The confrontation ended with Jack storming out, leaving Mark in stunned silence. The team convened in the meeting room, huddling together to devise their final escape plan. The pressure was immense, but they knew this was their only chance. They split up, each member taking on a crucial role in the intricate scheme. As they executed their plan, they found themselves in a crowded street, chased by the relentless police force. Jack led the team through narrow alleys, but the police were getting closer. Just when capture seemed inevitable, they dived into an underground tunnel. The tunnel was dark and perilous, with unexpected obstacles at every turn. The team navigated through it, narrowly avoiding several close calls. They emerged in a remote area, but Jack was injured in the escape. He had to wait for one of his team members to find him. When they finally regrouped in an abandoned warehouse, they knew the endgame was near. Determined, they braced themselves for the final showdown. The stage was set for the last face-off with the police on a main street. The confrontation was explosive, with both sides taking heavy hits. Amid the chaos, Jack and a few team members were captured. In the investigation office, the authorities extracted confessions from the detained members. Still on the run, Jack plotted his last attempt to flee before capture. He found temporary refuge in a quiet apartment, reflecting on the events that led to his downfall. When the coast was clear, he made a daring move to another location to evade capture. However, the investigators found a breakthrough, tracing him to a construction site. As the police closed in, Jack fought back, leading to a dramatic showdown. Ultimately, he was apprehended and taken to the station, where he faced intense interrogation. Defending himself was tough as the evidence stacked against him. Jack's trial in the courtroom was grueling, with damning evidence presented by the prosecution. Meanwhile, his former team members, in a break room, discussed the lessons learned and the consequences of their actions. The saga of Jack and his team came to an end as the judge declared the final verdict. Jack sat alone in the dimly lit prison cell, his gaze lost in the shadows that danced along the cold, stone walls. The silence was deafening, broken only by the occasional distant clang of metal bars or the murmur of guards exchanging shifts. This was his reality now, a narrow space where time seemed to stand still, yet his mind raced through the memories of his past. Jack wasn't always a criminal. Once, he had dreams, aspirations, people who cared for him. But a series of poor choices, fueled by greed and desperation, led him down a path of no return. His most recent heist seemed foolproof at the time. A well-planned, meticulously executed robbery that should have secured his future. Instead, it landed him behind bars. In the solitude of his cell, Jack faced the consequences of his actions. He thought about the people he had hurt, the lives he had disrupted. Regret gnawed at him, a constant, unrelenting companion. He remembered his former partner, Lucy, who had trusted him completely. Their bond was shattered the moment he decided to go through with the plan. He thought about his parents, who had given up on him after years of disappointment. But most of all, he thought about the city, the place that had been his playground and his battleground. Meanwhile, in Jack's old apartment, a layer of dust had settled over everything. The once vibrant space was now a ghostly reminder of a life that could have been different. The city outside was still reeling from the aftermath of Jack's grand theft. Small businesses had shuttered their doors. Families struggled to rebuild what was lost. The stolen wealth that was meant to give Jack a new beginning had instead sown seeds of chaos and despair. In the end, the big score had cost more than just Jack's freedom. It had cost the city its stability and its people their trust. Jack's story was a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of how one person's actions could ripple through communities and lives, leaving devastation in their wake. As the cell door clanged shut for the night, Jack lay on his cot, staring up at the cracked ceiling. He couldn't change the past, but perhaps, within these walls, he could begin to understand the true price of his choices. Jack and his team moved stealthily through the bustling streets surrounding the bank, utilizing various modes of transportation to avoid surveillance. Once they reached the safe house, they concealed their identities and reviewed the results of their heist in silence. Meanwhile, at the investigation office, detectives discovered traces of the robbery and immediately initiated an investigation. Jack, on the other hand, sold a portion of the stolen goods at an art gallery and began investing the money. Back at Jack's apartment, the team practiced methods to stay undetected. At a bustling metro station, Jack received an ominous threat from someone who knew details about the heist. In a quiet library, Jack delved into escape routes and ways to elude the authorities. Suspicion brewed when the team discovered possible espionage within their ranks at a member's apartment. In a dimly lit bar, Jack gathered unreliable intel on the investigation's progress from a dubious source. Detectives at the investigation headquarters uncovered new evidence linking the crime to Jack. Inside a meeting room, the team debated escape plans and decided to alter their strategy due to leaks. Jack sold more stolen jewels at a jewelry store to further avoid detection. The lead detective received information about internal leaks, narrowing down one of Jack's team members. As the urgency grew, Jack scrambled to leave the country via an international airport. The detectives, hot on his trail, conducted a raid and uncovered critical evidence. Back at his apartment, Jack made a horrifying discovery. One of his closest friends had become an informant, betraying the entire operation.